Good evening, Fear Reaper, and how are you today? And how's your 3D modelling going at the moment? Halfway? Oh, that's not bad. Oh, the final render as well. Oh, that's good. Let's hope it renders okay. So I'm just putting these last few stones in the pathway, and then we'll put the dirt between them, or whatever it is that's making up the path. Put an odd few stones in elsewhere. Trying to keep them random, which is quite difficult. Okay, now it's a case of putting in what looks to be something like packed earth or something like that around them. That's just going to be by lots of fine scratches. This just creates a light sort of grey colour around the stones. Thank you for your Reaper. Don't want them to be too hidden. Do want them to sort of, as you say, look to be blended in, but not too hidden. Let's try sharpening this tool a little bit. It was starting to make scratches that were getting a bit too deep. They're getting hidden a little bit here, so what I'm going to need to do is just make sure we increase the brightness a little bit of these stones so that they actually don't disappear. Looks rather dark, does that path on? It's not so bad at this top end here, but it does tend to look a bit dark as I go down there, but we'll have to just see how it goes. There's a difference between what it looks like on camera now and what it looks like here in person. I'm trying to get really relatively thin light scratches. That way I can always add more or make them darker. or rather lighter by going over them again or scratching deeper. Also, I'm trying to be a little bit random about the placement of these scratches as well, which is why I'm doing it quite fast, so that we leave lighter and darker patches, just as though the road or the pathway is uneven, and so you're getting some shadow areas or darker areas and lighter areas. So I'm going to take the path right up to the wall. So we'll just fill that in. I might put something like a couple of green stalks of grass in. We'll see. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to do grass down here. Should I guess just be lots of like vertical blades, really. Don't quite know what that's going to look like, but we shall try it and see. So just trying a little bit of an experiment just in this corner here. It sort of starts to look a bit like grass, so we'll try that a bit more. That doesn't look bad, so I'll carry on doing that, but it's going to take a little fair amount of time to do all this area down here at the bottom. I need to start from the back and come forward because I want to make sure that any scratches in the foreground look like they're in front of ones behind. So if I start from the background and work forward, that will automatically happen. Trying to be a little bit random about both the length and the direction, so I'm tilting the scratches a little bit left and right as I do this so that they don't all appear just as like vertical patches. Thank you very much for your Reaper. Now because there's so many scratches in a small area, it looks quite bright. So May have to do something about the path to make it the path a little bit brighter to compare to the grass, or it may look different if we paint the grass green. If I'm going to try the green ink on the grass, we'll try that before we make the path brighter, because the ink may change the way in which it looks. I suppose what I could have done is count every single blade of grass I was doing. It might make a statistic to be able to say there's 2,000 blades of grass, or however many there are, but not a particularly interesting one there. Making sure to overlap the edge of the pathway so that I don't have a dark line along the edge. Just a moment. Okay, I am back to carry on with lots of grass. I suppose in theory I could use something like a wire brush to do this with. I'm not quite sure whether that would turn out looking too uniform though, or whether it would look would actually come out looking random, or random enough for grass. This is one of those situations where to have something look good takes time to do things like individual grass blades, which is effectively what I'm doing here. I mean, obviously not as many as there would be in real life, but other techniques which might do things like grass, well, I don't necessarily have the other tools to do it. Some things like fiberglass pencil might do something quite nice grass wise. I don't have one of those, but other things I can think of would tend to give just like a rough texture rather than a grass looking texture. So unfortunately it's to get the look or the detail, it needs to be done one blade at a time, which takes unfortunately to say takes a fair bit of time to do. It will be to cover this bottom area like this. And this is getting a little bit blunt, so I'll give it a little bit of a sharpen. That's better. It's got a bit of a sharper point on it now. The sharper point on it, it seems less likely to go back into some of the marks it's already made. So I seem to be getting sort of more scratches rather than creating larger ones, which happens when, or seemed to happen when it was getting a little bit blunt. Graya, good evening and welcome to the studio this evening. How are you doing? This of course is making a lot of black dust as I'm scraping off a lot of the ink. It's making my gloves all really dirty. Actually, if I rub a little bit of the dust back into the scratched areas, it will actually tone them down a little bit. So they won't appear quite as white rather. You can also do that using a little damp paintbrush, because the water then causes the particles of the black ink to actually stick to the porcelain clay. For no particular reason, otherwise I just felt like doing it, just brought that grass a bit closer just there. I will be filling in the rest, so it's just no particular reason for it, just felt like it. Now I have to remember here not to tilt the grass to go around the curve, because the grass is pointing straight up and down, and it has to do even as it goes around the curve. It's a very easy trap or trick to fall into, is to start following the curve around with the angle of the grass in this particular case. And just so you can get a better idea what it's starting to look like. Excuse me. When you look at it close on the camera like that, it's a little bit difficult to see the perspective, to see that when you step back from this, and I'll show you it by zooming out, but as you step back from this, instead of looking like a wall, this starts to look more like a path. Once you start to see more of the image, and I'll have to tilt the camera up to do that, but then it starts to ground it a little bit better. Back to the grass, I'm afraid. So sharpen this again. Ah, dear. I'm just looking at this picture then, wondering if I can just do something else for a little while. It's doing lots of grass is interesting, shall we say, but it's not growing very fast. So you tend to need sort of a bit of patience to do this. So, Reaper, how long do you think it's going to take now for your render to finish? We're going to get to see an image this evening, or is it going to be another day? 84 Guy, good evening. Welcome to the studio this evening. Welcome to the drawing lots of grass blades stream for today. Looking at the time, probably not 84 Guy. It's going to take a fair bit of time to do even this bottom level of grass, which will probably be enough for all I'll be able to do on this stream. So maybe on the next one we'll add some green to it, rather than trying to rush it or do a little bit of it now. I'll do the grass and then do the underlying grass, and then we'll put green over the top and maybe add some more grass on top of that. This is taking quite a bit longer than I thought it might. I'm not quite sure. I knew it was going to take a long time, but I didn't quite know how long. And it looks like it's it's going to take a few hours, shall we say, to have completed this. Been going about an hour and a half now. Mostly just doing the grass. I've done a few more stones down here, down this bottom end here in on this stream, and then although it doesn't show up very well on the stream, I've sort of put a layer of dirt around them. You can sort of see the grey background. It's a bit more visible here in presence, but okay, yeah, well, so am I. It's going to be interesting to see how it works. Obviously it's something I've never tried before. And that greening looks to be about the right green for grass, or really sort of lush grass, so I don't even have to mix inks, which is going to be quite useful. Okay. Oh, I hope it does behave this time. This is, as I mentioned earlier, this bit of this artwork is one of those bits where normally I say you don't need patience. This is kind of one of those times where you sort of do, just because it doesn't progress very fast. You can kind of zone out doing this. And just let your mind freewheel. I wish this tool would stay sharp though. Trouble is, I know even surgical steel, which is what the scalpel is, does the same thing. It goes quite blunt, so I can't really imagine anything that I might have that would stay sharp. I was thinking about pins then, but pins themselves are not really that sharp. And I suspect if it sort of blunts surgical steel, then it's going to blunt a pin fairly quickly as well. yes, that reminds me. How did it go? Oh well, that's better than none, I guess. Oh, that sounds really nice for you, Reaper 7. I don't have any, otherwise I'd agree with you. I quite like chili con carne. Quite like it with tortilla chips as well. Well, a lot of the time, I guess, or you always seem to have it with rice. So, do you like a shiny sword? I can take it away if you'd like. It's alright, you won't tempt me that much. I don't have any, so I can quite happily ignore the temptation that you're trying to put there. Well, it's yeah, you spend a lot of time watching what I do, so and helping out and things like that. So I thought it was worth it. Oh, 10 years. That's a long time to not have had chili con carne. I'm trying to think how long it is since I've sort of had any out in a other than sort of. Oh, I know you won't, Fear Reaper. That's only a click away to stop that. But dark chocolate on. Why should? Okay. No, I didn't know. But why should it have dark chocolate melted on top of chili con carne, Eddie? Not that it doesn't sound like it could be interesting, but cheese is more the normal sort of thing, isn't it? I like just trying to think actually the last time I had, but a lot of chili con carne, if you don't make it yourself, is or if you buy it from shops, tend to be really watery. And I'm just trying to think. The last time I had a really rich, thick chili con carne. When I remember to do it in enough time, I like I don't get as far as chili con carne, but mincemeat cooked in a gravy and then left to just slow cook in the gravy for, I don't know, about an hour. So the gravy really sort of thickens and the mincemeat becomes sort of really rich. Is about as close as I get to chili con carne these days, but okay. Dark chocolate on top. It's one I've not heard of or come across, but you know, traditionally, then I don't know where chili con carne originates from. So I suppose it's sort of the suggestion it would be if it's a traditional topping, then they sort of originate from a similar part of the world. But I can see it, I suppose, and it adds a little bit of sweetness to the chili, because you get like chili and chocolate, or chili chocolates, and kind of that combination of chili flavour and chocolate flavour together in something else as well. Spanish. I'm just going to put some lights on. Lincolnshire sausage. That's nice as well. Heavy and Mad. Good evening. Welcome to the studio. Excuse me while I put some lights on. Okay. Ooh, blimey. Right. I'm fine, thank you. And good evening to everybody that's joined this evening. The material is called Scraperboard. You can send a message, yes, Twitch message, Aaron Mayer, that's okay. This board is called Scraperboard, and that's it has various other names as well: Scratchboard, Clayboard. Really depending on the manufacturer, and different manufacturers construct it slightly differently. This particular manufacturer, which calls it Scraperboard, makes it from a thin card covered by porcelain clay and then the black Indian ink. Another manufacturer calls it I forgot what they call it now. Clayboard, I think. And they manufacture it using a wood backing. So it's about an eighth or a quarter of an inch thick wood backing, over which they put the clay and then the black ink. And then you just use any sharp instrument in order to scratch off the black ink. And depending on the depth or the width of the scratch and how many are in a particular area, depends on how white the area looks. So this area of grass here, which has got a lot of scratches in a particular area, is looking a lot lighter than these stones or even the cottage stones here. Have I made? No, you're quite welcome to tell a story if you like. Vatigan. Any advantage of one brand of? I haven't used any other brands to be able to say one way or the other. This is Scraperboard, Scratchboard, which is the other one I was thinking of, which has the wooden backing, does have an advantage in that it won't bend. This is card, so it will flex up and camera's a bit zoomed in, but it will flex up and down, which means that if you want to hang this on a wall, it has to be put in a frame or some form of backing. And generally speaking, then you can put glass over the front or not as you choose, but it generally has to be in a frame. The scratch board, which has got like a 1/4 inch wood backing, that doesn't, because it's the backboard itself is strong enough to support the image and to actually even have hanging hooks put straight into the back of it, or a hanging plate which is glued to the back, and it will support the image directly. So that's one advantage over this, but this has the advantage that it's a lot cheaper. Now, Eddie, no problem. Have a good evening, and see you around later. So just trying to represent grass here, and we're essentially just doing it one blade at a time. That way you actually see what looks like, even though you're seeing it at a distance, you're actually seeing something that sort of has that slightly spiky random look of grass. Yeah, indeed. 84 guy. I'm lucky I don't have that at the moment. And if you're starting to wonder why I'm wearing white gloves, white for no reason than they're white, but the gloves is to stop finger marks getting onto this board, although they will polish off quite easily. If they're not there in the first place, then I don't have to polish them off, and it also makes it nice and easy just to brush away the black dust that's a result of scraping off the Indian ink. No, it's this is only one of the things that I do Arimaid. I also do some carving, so relief carving. In fact, if you like, I'll just put this to one side and I'll show you some of the other things that I do. So I shall just zoom the camera back out. So this is one of the things that we did on, or I did on stream, which is of a dragon from a particular series of books. That's reliefed carved with hand tools. And then another of the things that is done is pyrography. Pyrography is using heat to create an image. So there's a couple of things here. That's this is a door here. On one side of that there is a fox which is awake, and on the other side is a fox which is asleep. And another piece which we did just before that is this one, which I'll have to move the camera further back to get in. But there, salute to sunset is what this piece is called. You've got the elephant with a giraffe in the background. It's meant to be a sunset scene, and something like the African savannah. So that's carving and pyrography. Thank you very much. There's another art form which is called punchcraft, which is a bit like miniature rug making. So this is a bit like a miniature rug. Now that in itself is a British railway locomotive, which are identified by classes. This one's called a Class 66. So this is loops of thread through the backing material used to create the train. And another thing which I do is make jewellery. So I've got some examples of. In fact, I'll take my gloves off now. Lots of people like locomotives are made. So we've got some, and I'll zoom back in for this. But we've got some jewellery made with aluminium rings. This one is also made with some neoprene rings. The yellow are stretchy. So this will eventually be made into a bracelet. I need a few more rings before I can do that, but this will be turned into a bracelet. It's a multicoloured necklace. And they're all various different styles of using rings. Here's another one. A different way of putting the rings together to make, in this case, another bracelet. I've got a fair few others like that. So we've done punchcraft, scraperboard, which you've seen. We've done pyrography. We've done carving, and I'm sure I'm missing another one. I do 5: carving, punchcraft, pyrography, scraperboard. Oh, that's right. Yes, and the and the rings. So that's all 5. I think I've shown you examples of pyrography, carving. Yes, that's right. There's no such thing as normal art have in my head. And some of this is art and crafting. I am just creative and like doing lots of creative things. And as Rusty Bradigan says, they're keeping busy. It's just a nice thing to do different things. It saves me getting bored, gives me different things to do. Certain things work better on certain media. I'll just put these to one side. So for example, Scraperboard here, which is this, is very good for doing things, well, it's a monochrome art form, so it can be very good for doing things like nighttime scenes, whereas the pyrography is very good for sort of sunset, sunrise, warm looking scenes. It's a different set of skills to produce them, but it's working with the same sort of art in terms of being able to set out an image and draw it in perspective or in the correct relationships and things like that. I do, though I don't do it on stream, I also have done airbrushing, and I do some computer art as well, but I also don't do that on stream at the moment. I just enjoy doing this form of different things of art. But unfortunately, guys, it's 10 o'clock here in the UK, 10 PM, which is the time I normally finish the stream. So it's quite a convenient point now. So I'm going to go for this evening. Thank you very much, everybody that's been watching. If there's anybody that's watching that isn't following, I do of course appreciate it if you would care to follow. It's nice to know people would like to come back. If you'd like better notifications of when I go live than Twitch seems to give out, then you're also welcome to follow me on Twitter. It's at Zaraganart, but also you'll see the details on the end plate. On the other hand, if you just want to catch me when I next go live tomorrow evening at 8 PM in the UK, 1900 hours GMT, or if you look at your clock wherever you are now, it's 2 hours ago. It's 8 o'clock, so that time tomorrow. Thank you all, and see you again. Bye bye.